What is up, everybody? I hope you're all doing great. Today we are checking out the new Revv D40. This is a 2-channel 40-watt amplifier. It's powered by two 6L6 tubes and of course 12AX7s in the preamp section. This one is a bit of a departure from the I would say the Revv lineup. Not that all Revv amps are strictly like modern or high gain, but this one is definitely pointed more towards the player that really wants a bit more of a vintage sound and feel. So this guy is a 2-channel amplifier, as I mentioned. The clean channel is a really big, spread out, high headroom, just beautiful sounding clean channel. It will break up a little bit if you dial it to do so. And it also takes pedals really well. Loves pedals. We'll get into that channel. The drive channel, channel 2, is more of a vintage voice. So think along the lines of maybe a JTM 45 with maybe a little bit of high-powered Tweed Twin in there and some of Dan Trudeau from Revv's like Magic Dust on top of all of that. It's definitely a lower gain channel. I would consider it a medium gain channel. It is absolutely not a high gain channel. The way it was designed was you can get up to a pretty good amount of crunch or overdrive, and then if you want more, you can dime it, but if you want more, just hit it with your favorite boost pedal, overdrive pedal, whatever it is that you normally use, Klon or King of Tone, whatever suits you. And by the way, the very last solo in that performance with that Tyler guitar is this channel with my tilt boost, just clean boost into it to kind of push it over the top in saturation. And we can get into that. Maybe if I remember, I'll turn something on, a couple things on while I'm demoing this channel. So let's get into what's on the front of this amplifier, okay? So on the top row of knobs, that's your channel 1. So you've got volume, treble, mid, bass, your overall channel volume. And then next to that, you've got these 2 master volumes. The reason there's 2 master volumes, these are global, is so that you can raise or lower the overall volume of the amp without messing around with your tone stack. So if you just want your solo to jump, but you don't necessarily want to change your tone stack to do it, you can foot switchably bounce between those 2 masters. They sound great. So obviously a pretty straight ahead tone stack. The drive channel is the same exact tone stack. So volume, treble, mid, bass, there's your channel master. And then right next to that is your presence control. That's your global presence control. We'll get into that in the demo, as well as a depth control. We will also get into that in the demo. Now there's buttons on the amp. These 2 buttons here allow you to choose between the 2 channels. And then you have a bright switch that can be applied to both channels programmably. We'll get into that in the demo. And there's also a boost switch. Sounds really great. Just makes the amp sound a little bit more pushed. We'll check that out in the demo. You also have a reverb switch. The reverb controls are on the back of the amplifier. It is a digital reverb. Those controls are on the back. You get a depth and level. We'll get into how that sounds in the demo. Anything I'm doing from the front of this amp as far as hitting any switches is all completely foot switchable via the foot switch that you can get with the amp, or MIDI. It has a MIDI in and through, so you can utilize all of the functions on the amp, as well as and I'll mention this, I won't be demoing this, but I'll mention that this amp, there really isn't a Revv amp now that doesn't have this, but this one comes with the 2 Notes embedded hardware and Dynamis software. It is stereo, just like on the Generator 120. It sounds amazing. I'm not going to get into that in this particular demo because I really want you guys to hear it on the mics. But that's a really great feature, obviously, for running to front of house, recording. Sounds really, really, really good. Maybe I'll do a video separately that just kind of shows that. But I've done quite a few videos that cover the 2 Notes stuff. It's great. And also right there, there's your headphone out. There's your headphone volume. Obviously, this is for the 6 embedded cabinets that come with the amplifier. You can load your own Dynamis in there. You can have up to like 120 something. But like I said, we won't get into that for this demo, but that's what's happening on the front of the amp. On the back of the amp, as I mentioned, you have a MIDI in and a MIDI through, so you can utilize all those functions within the amp itself and the software. On the amplifier, you also have, you're going to see something that looks like another MIDI in, but it's actually the foot switch. And then right next to that, you're going to see, it's going to say cab light. That's if you want to light up, if you have another Revv cabinet, if you're using this with a Revv cab, you can light up the badge with that. And of course, you've got 5 speaker outs, 2 4s, 2 8s, and a 16, so that covers all those bases. You have 2 switches back there. One is going to allow you to turn on the internal load, the reactive load, and run the amp direct if you wish. The switch right next to that will bump the amp from 40 watts down to, I believe, 10 watts. And that works really great. I'll say, you know, the master volume on this is really good. The 10-watt switch sounds great. If you still want the power section to break up, you can definitely utilize that. You're going to see a couple of bias ports, so you can, you know, if you change tubes, you can you know, do your own biasing, or, you know, have your tech do it. Okay, and of course, you know, the left and right XLR outs, and there's also a USB out for accessing the software on your Mac or PC for the 2 notes embedded. And then of course you have all your various fuses back there. And if I didn't mention it before, you do have your reverb. I did mention it before, but I'll say it again. You have your reverb controls on the back. So you have your depth and level controls. We'll get into all that in the demo. So without further ado, let's give this Revv Amps D40 a listen. Okay, let's get started. I've got a 1x12. It's a Revv 1x12 cabinet. It's loaded with a Celestion V30. I have that in a separate room, mic'd up with my usual combination, which is a Royer R121 ribbon mic, Shure SM57 into my my Chandler TG preamp. So yeah, I'm just gonna, let's just give it a listen. cool. It's kind of bounced between the two channels a little bit. The obviously the drive channel, channel 2, is more of a vintage gain, so we're thinking like maybe JTM. There's a little bit of high-powered tweet in there that I can hear. That channel feels really great. The clean channel, the first channel, is just a big, beautiful, kind of spread out clean tone, takes pedals really, really well. So let me just go through the functions. This amp's pretty straight ahead, really, but let me go through the functions on the clean channel. The same functions apply to the second channel or the crunch channel. Okay, so I'm back to the clean. What I'm going to do is shut all this stuff off. Reverb controls are on the back, the switches on the front. Everything I'm doing on this amplifier is foot switchable, just in case you're wondering. So here's just the start point. There's a bright switch and there's a boost switch. They do exactly what you think they do. So here's the bright switch. Brings more of that glass up top, right? Now the boost switch is just making everything sound a little bit more pushed. I personally really like that just in all the time. Lets the amp break up just a little bit, but also just kind of spreads things out, and it does. It sounds a little bit more pushed. And of course, the two together, you dial to taste. I'm going to shut both of those off. Well, I'll leave the boost on. Let's just roll the controls. So the mid control is a little bit fatter mid. It's not as kind of pointed. A little bit fatter mid. The bass gets really, really big. And you can, use obviously the depth control as well to kind of dial that in depending on what cab, guitar, all that kind of stuff, what room are you in. But that's the sweep of the controls. This amp will break up a little bit more as you start pushing that front volume. It'll definitely break up if you don't want it to get, we obviously jumped in volume, so we have a channel master. We can turn that down to kind of balance things out. For the most part, it's a really efficient kind of high headroom clean. It will, as I mentioned, break up if you dial it to, and it takes pedals great. So that's that channel. I can let you hear the reverb really quick. The reverb's pretty nice on it, man. It's a digital reverb, but it's kind of it seems like a cross between like maybe a plate and a spring. And you can adjust that on the back. There's two adjustments. If I can find, there we go. There's level, so I can shut it off. Or I can crank it all the way up. And there's also a depth or length control all the way off. All the way up. Really good sounding reverb. I'll go ahead and dial that back. Okay, so that's that channel. Let's jump to the channel 2, and I'll do the same thing. We'll go ahead and start with everything off. I'll show you what the bright switch is doing in this case. So that's kind of our jumping off point. Very kind of vintage style breakup. If I want that to sound more pushed, Same deal. I just can add the boost. Same thing, I really like the boost just in all the time. There are occasions when I would take that out, especially if I needed to fit into a track a little bit better, but and then the bright switch, same concept. So in that case, like say maybe I want a little more barky top end. So I'll turn the bright switch off and just use the treble. It's kind of martially. But say I want to, maybe have that be a different type of top end. I can turn the treble down, turn the bright switch on. Now I've got a more toppy, kind of glassy top, but it's less kind of barky in the mids. So it's a really cool feature, and obviously you would do that with both channels. I kind of go back and forth. I like to have the treble pushed a little bit, but it's just because I like a little bit more of that kind of mid bark. Okay, so I'll do the same thing. Treble. Once again, that's a fatter mid. It's a bass off. So very similar kind of tone stack on this channel because it is more of a vintage style channel. To me, I tend to keep the bass down like I would on like say a JTM style amp. Little dab will do ya. Especially as you start cranking, both channels will do this. As you start cranking the front volumes, you will get a little bit more lows. So you just compensate as you get it dialed in with the bass. So if I dyne this, more gain, but there is a little more bass there. So I can go ahead and just roll the bass back a little bit. Now I really like this channel. I like the amount of gain that's in it. If you need more, then just hit it with like your favorite boost pedal. Like I can hit it with a tilt boost, so it's a clean boost. Or I could hit it with an overdrive. That sounds cool. So I don't want to turn this into an overdrive demo, but you can definitely hit that channel with either your favorite, it could be an RC booster, AC booster, tilt overdrive, Klon would sound killer into that. But that's the idea with that. This isn't a high gain channel. It's a crunch channel. It will, if you dime it, you're going to get some gain out of it. But I would say it's going to sound the best if you leave it kind of more how I have it dialed here, in my opinion. And then just hit it with whatever your favorite boost or overdrive pedals are. And of course you have your channel master. Those are there to kind of help just obviously balance out between the clean and the dirty channel. Now one thing this amp does do is it will remember. So I was on channel 1, I had the boost and the reverb on, right? But when I went to channel 2, reverb shuts off, boost is on. So it's a cool feature, so you're not constantly turning things on and off. It's like the amp will remember what you did. Now, the last two controls are presence and depth. So I'll just go ahead and sweep those. It's obviously global. Presence off. Presence all the way up. I like it about right there. And then depth is all the way off. Depth all the way up. So it'll get pretty pillowy and big. I like it about right there, because then I can roll my bass back into either channel and dial accordingly. But that's the global presence and depth. I'm a fan of having that on amps these days. Once again, it just helps me to sculpt things in. You have two overall masters. You can see I've got this one off, but you can switch between these two masters so that if you just want the overall level of the amp to get higher or hotter without changing your tone stack in any way, you can switch between the two separate masters. Right now it's about halfway up. I would say at that volume, this being a really efficient 40-watt amplifier, you're pretty much going to be able to hang with whoever. And then if you need more, there's definitely plenty of headroom above that to get above drums and what have you. This control is the sixth position for the two notes embedded Dynamis. I'm not going to demo that this time. I really just want you guys to hear this on the cabs, on the mics, and get a really good idea for how it sounds. That sounds great. I've done lots of videos for Revv on the Revv channel and actually on my channel that goes through the Dynamis setup in that. So that is the Revv Amps D40, really great sounding amp. If you've got any other questions about the product, definitely go to the website and check things out. And as always, I really, really appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you next time.